Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Sharp Edge News TV. Welcome back. My name is Ola, coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. Hit like, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications so you're notified whenever we go live. Without any further ado, folks, brace yourself because it's time to welcome the man who wears two impressive hats. One as the publisher and editor-in-chief of SharpEdgeNews.com, and the other as a High Chief Odokweto Vayidigwe Ogbese, Ondo State, Nigeria. Without any further ado, please give it up for Chief Oladimeji Abitogun. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Good to be back with you. And our deep appreciation, gratitude to our several fans all over the world that have made that deliberate choice to always be part of what we do here at the SharpEdgeNewsTV.com and SharpEdgeNewsTV on Facebook, on YouTube, and all our outlets, including TikTok. Thank you indeed. Good to be back.
Welcome back, sir. All right, so today we have a few stories to talk about. We're going to cover the coalition strategy for the next elections in Nigeria. We're going to talk about the US versus Iran situation. We're also going to talk about the plans of SULE LAMIDO to unseat Tinubu. But before we get into all of that, let's dive into our weekly SharpEdgeNews.com special report. What do you have for us today, sir?
Thank you indeed. Number one, our sincere gratitude, like I said, then apologies to a lot of people that felt we stepped on our toes due to certain personal conduct and some actions they think we are not able to explain. We all go through motions, and nobody will set out to deliberately hurt anyone. And our deep and sincere apologies. Just accept us the way we are. We are frail, we are human, and because of that, we will always cross each other's path. But it is not our willful intent to hurt each other. Thank you indeed. I hope we'll be able to show some level of understanding. This shouldn't rock or it should not disrupt any business dealings. Just that we leave our immediate future to for what's it called? To the we allow things to play out the way they ought to naturally. So I won't say much other than that. Now to the developing situations all over the world, particularly in Nigeria. Today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu shocked us. So many times we want to be able to place an handle to get an understanding, to have a good handle on whatever he's doing. But he confuses so many of us at times. We were thinking that the issue of Chicago State University had been put behind us, but he resurrected the soul of that matter again today when he said it was sexy to make agriculture the trendy thing in Nigeria. Place emphasis on the word sexy. He's talking of it being cool and being appropriate to want to embrace the business of agriculture in Nigeria. Yeah, that nobody would disagree with that. But he brought up the ghost of the troubled issue, the traumatic issue of whether he was at Chicago State University or not by bringing in a businessman from Belarus who we were told in a very, very opaque manner was given the contract to supply more than 2,000 tractors to the Nigerian system, through which the country intends to revolutionize food production and make Nigeria a major fulcrum when it comes to supply chain of food internationally. So he got this man to stand up right in the middle of the state event and identified him not just as a business person that has been linked with him now because of their past from a Chicago State University. And he said the Chicago State University in the United States of America would be proud of the two of them, he being president and the other one being the businessman. Yes, indeed, people would always have acquaintances, close relations, and friends. It is a natural process in nature. But when the destiny is something that has to do with the destiny of over 230 million people becomes an issue that is tied to interpersonal friendship. I mean, supplying, as it is, the purchasing order for more than 2,000 tractors, heavy duty equipment for turning around the agricultural fortune of the people of Nigeria. I do not think such a thing should have been reduced to, what's it called? A friendship deal. And that begins to raise, I mean, does it happen here? There are more than enough business upstarts in Nigeria, young business people that could be told, oh, you supply 10 of these tractors, you supply 2, and all that, spread it around. But because of friendship, and I can take that bet with any of us, it's not that easy for us who are African immigrants operating whether in Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, United States of America, Canada, wherever, amongst these Caucasian folks. They are our good neighbors. We all belong to this, but we see the prejudice and we see the barriers we face when it comes to accessing the system here. And so it becomes so easy. Why is it that it's only the Shagoris is always, it's so easy for white people to get things fixed for them on the African continent, more than the direct people of that continent's origin to get anything done. So that disturbs us. And we do not want to smell corruption in many of these things, but then the facts are obvious. Now, let us move from that to the issue of concern about an international conference center that has now been renamed Bola Tinubu International Conference Center in Abuja. That was originally built in 1991 for less than 300 million naira by the then military president Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. When that place will be refurbished within a time frame of 8 months, recently, the all-powerful Minister of Federal Capital Territory in Abuja, Mr. Jason Wike, said it was done for, rehabilitation of an existing structure was done for about 49 billion naira. Let us do the mathematics. And that work was done within 8 months. I do not know, honestly, my own calculation, if anybody had spent close to 1 billion to 5 billion to refurbish, rehabilitate the International Conference Center, it was not fully dilapidated like they are trying to sell us this snake oil of a deal. It was not completely bad. It was not completely out of shape. It was still glossy the last time I was there, maybe 2022. And the place it still looked gorgeous according to its original. Whatever had fallen apart could just be brought up to speed, and then some naira would be saved. But what do we get these days? People are spending money like drunken sailor, and they push it on the faces of the taxpayers to pick the bills, and they even go into debt that are never explained. I hope somebody is thinking of the vast majority of Nigerians and the future of the children yet unborn. We move from there to the disruptive development going on within the Nigerian oil industry. But the phase of that at the moment is our good friend, associate, and partner, Mr. Femi Shoneye, who behaved in a way that should be applauded and be celebrated by everybody. You hardly find any Nigerian resigning on the job. You hardly find any Nigerian resigning on the job when people are stepping on Nigerians' toes, taking things over their heads, and making sure that they are rendered redundant in the system in which they ought to have been, become a critical part of the whole. Nigerians sit down there and they lap it up, they suck it all up while being insulted. Femi Shoneye is not just a thoroughbred journalist. Of course, understand that he is also, he was also an airman in the US military. So he acted like a brave soldier, looked his traducers straight in the eyes and decided to call it quits as the chief spokesperson or the chief communications person at the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL. Honestly, we were thinking Mr. Bayo Ojulari will be looking at the issues involved, and we do not want to hold back his hand because he's been given powers plenipotentiary to check the books, particularly the scandal of about 211 trillion naira that was said to have been accrued. The total money said to have accrued to NNPCL over a period of substantial period, particularly during the Mele Kyari years. But what we are looking at here is that you allow professionals to do their jobs unhindered. I do not think that being the chief spokesperson of the corporation would in any way be organically linked to how the money is coming, how the funds are retired, whatever it goes to, like the people in the top echelon of NNPCL. So while we wish Bayo Ojulari the very best settling down to that job, what we just pray against is a situation in which the common patrimony of Nigeria, the entire earnings of NNPCL, will not be sacrificed for mundane feelings and considerations. We look forward to working with the new team there, but we are also beaming our searchlight on the system because we suspect that some people are making inroads into the communications department of NNPCL. What their pedigree is, what credentials they have is none. It's not been advertised, it's not been made clear to all of us. So understand that Nigeria's corporate earnings and destiny should not be sacrificed for filial and mundane mundane things. That said, we go to the politics of local government election in Osun State. Currently, as we speak, that system is holding up statutory allocations that is meant to service the third tier of administration, of governance in Osun State. You would ordinarily feel that local governments are the closest to common folks that can be easily accessed by every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And those of us who grew up in Nigeria would even in America here, that is like the simplest nugget of governance and administration. Anybody can walk up to the chairman of a local government or like the mayor of any county or city government and demand explanation, simple explanation of it. Forget the fact that neo-fascism is saying that, oh, if a senator asks what's it called, the boss of Homeland Security in the US, a question that person is not pleased with, that senator can be walked out of the meeting room, told to face down and be handcuffed. Laughable conduct. That should not recommend itself for us in Nigeria. Like I said, if the whole world is has decided to go crazy in the time and hour in which we live, we can also say, okay, there is something exceptional about Nigeria. We want to embrace that standard that is being abandoned by everybody. So in Osun State, the Court of Appeal, the appellate court ruled that APC government under Oyetola then behaved irresponsibly by organizing an election during the eve of that administration's departure. By law, any independent electoral commission for the local government system in Nigeria should arrange itself and conduct elections within 360 days, given 360 days notice. But that was not the bar that was respected by Oyetola's departing administration in Osun State. And the current administration in that state, under Governor Adeleke, has called attention to all that, has used judicial process. But because APC is running the show in the center, is riding roughshod on everybody. In conclusion, you know, there is moral authority, there is legal authority. When a president that is supposed to be commander-in-chief leads from the front, everybody feels that it's about security of lives and property. Only last week, Wednesday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had to cancel or reschedule his priorities. Did not go to Kaduna on Wednesday, went to Benue State to commiserate with the families of individuals that have been hacked down in cold blood by criminal headsmen, terrorists that are on the loose all over the place, whether on the plateau or in Benue, Ondo State, wherever, all over Nigeria. And we thought, oh, the marching order given to the military to contain these rampaging killers would subsist. But no sooner did the president leave, between then and now, more than 70 Nigerians have been killed again. So these people are really poking their fingers in the eyes of Nigeria's commander-in-chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What would the military do now? When somebody spites your father, and then you do not really take appropriate action, saying, oh, something is really encumbering you. No, you ought to have died there first. I'm throwing this challenge at Nigerian security operatives. We are proud of you guys, but in this, you are really falling short of our expectation. When people dare the commander-in-chief like that, and these people are supposed to be criminal, that is quite different from making sure that democracy works for all of us. But in this case, despite the commander-in-chief, and we are expecting that you will take the battle to them, smoke them out wherever they are, it's almost like business as usual. Have you seen the example of the show that is going on between Israel and Iran? The American demonstration of authority. No question asked. No question asked. When somebody has decided to arrogate to him or herself that ingenuity of being some kind of bully in an environment, you put them where they belong. Send them to the grave earlier than what was destined for them by their makers. I hope a word is enough for the wise. That said, or that being said, like some people have been pointing it out to us that we need to really watch our grammar as a trained
who are these old people?
Grammarians.
Who are these old people saying that? Who are these old people telling us to watch out for our grammar? They think the queen is still alive?
Well, Ola, it does not matter. Let us pay attention to this because you never can tell. Some people really want to speak Queen's English. Here, we do not pretend that we are.
If they promise to share this video 50 times for every time we speak correct English, if they promise to share the video 50 times for every time they correct our English, we promise we'll speak correct English.
Let us also make that a deal. Let us also make that a deal with our fans. That said, Ola, good to be back.
Thank you, sir.
Week, our report.
Welcome back. All right, do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified whenever we go live. Like, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications. We have stories, trendy stories around the world that we want to get into. So, yes, we'll be right back.
But I can tell you, the engine rooms of this coalition, a lot of them you don't even know. APC will not know what hits them coming 2027. You know, when you are dealing with the ruling party and you're in the opposition party, you have to possess exceptional skills, exceptional attributes. You must have to be strong, but you should not be brutal. You should not be reckless, but you have to be courageous. You should not be priggish, but you have to be honest. You should not be proud, but you have to be confident. You should not be a braggart or self-conceited, but you have to be intelligent. You should not be sentimental, but you have to be very compassionate. And of course, you have to be charismatic. Now, all these attributes, if you don't have it, remember, you cannot outdo the ruling party in terms of resources.
All right. He said in terms of resources. That was Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, who is speaking on the, I guess, supposed coalition. I'm going to read this short excerpt, and you can take it away.
Wait. Initially, I was thinking beyond his immediate antecedent as a well-known Nollywood actor. And later a lawyer. He on that program too said, described himself as an economist. So take it from there.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, according to The Sun, Kenneth Okonkwo, a politician, lawyer, and prominent actor, has disclosed that the presidential ticket of the newly founded All Democratic Party (ADA) will be accessible to all zones. Okonkwo, who was the spokesperson for the Labour Party presidential candidate in 2023, stated that interested candidates from all regions will be able to exercise their democratic and constitutional rights. The lawyer revealed this during an appearance on Channels Television Sunday Politics. So, I have a very simple question, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This ADA of a thing, is this a reality already? What are we talking about here?
Well, yes and no, to the extent that they are an association that have expressed their intention to be registered as a political party. Yeah, you may say they're on their way to getting there, but already you have seen certain missteps or error of omission in their papers. Instead of addressing their application to the Independent National Electoral Commission, maybe they were in a hurry. I can't hold forth for them. They can always explain the error themselves. They addressed them. They addressed their application, their letter of intent to Independent National Commission.
Was that INEC?
Yes. Okay. Instead of addressing it to INEC, they address it to INC. So INC. that error for a start, they don't have to be so unorganized and non-methodical in their approach. They got to, proceed with utmost caution and making sure that all their I's are dotted and their T's are properly crossed. So that is the initial thing. So to answer your question, I think they're on their way there. So if it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, then what do you conclude?
So what is this 2027 game plan or coalition strategy? What's the core of it? Maybe we can.
What they are trying to do. It is a coalition of everybody that is displeased with the implosion, the self-inflicted, I mean, the deliberately orchestrated implosion that the PDP is suffering. Remember, Wike would do everything to delegitimize the Atiku faction and the Atiku leadership in People's Democratic Party. And then you find elements like Chibuke Rotimi Amechi, the former governor of Rivers State, who was also a minister.
Was also APC, right? It was APC, right?
Who was also a minister of transport and shifting one of the people who led the so-called new PDP into the coalition that birthed the party that is now known as the All
APC.
Progressives Congress, APC in Nigeria. And on another wing of that movement, you find somebody like Nasir El-Rufai, who actually was one of the most vociferous and loquacious critics of he got everything from the People's Democratic Party. I mean, from when he was first discovered and installed as the director, the EMS-man of the then public bureau. What was it called? Yeah, Public Bureau for Public Enterprise, BPE, Bureau for Public Enterprise. From there, Obasanjo made him the Minister of Federal Capital Territory. His ascendance as a public servant, which he described as totally accidental, was facilitated by the PDP machine. But at the end of the day, he jumped ship. He jumped ship and decided to form an alliance with Bola Ahmed Tinubu and former President Muhammadu Buhari. And he operated with reckless abandon with them. Even he became the chief, the mastermind of this vision of having Muslim ticket, which he later used to taunt the entire Nigerian people. As a result of which, security intelligence did not favor him when he was screened to become a minister under the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, because he was being viewed as a rabid religious bigot and extremist. So he didn't really pass that test and he was screened out. Since then, he also has thrown all kinds of mud, all kinds of dirt at all kinds of objects in the kitchen. He has been throwing at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And you have other people like Dr. Ahmed Baba, and so on and so forth. But at the moment, somebody of Yoruba ethnic stock is being flown around as the interim chairman of this ADA of a thing. And you ask them, they are not categorical in saying whether they are going to move out of PDP, whatever political contraption, or all they are saying is that this ADA of a thing is a sure bet for all of them who feel they can muster enough strength and political gusto to defeat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come 2027. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his own co-travelers too have not really helped the situation. Instead of minding the business of governance, what have they been doing? All kinds of contradictory steps and missteps, including economic policies that have been so bitter of a pill for the average Nigerian citizen to swallow. So this is the journey so far. It's almost like they push, the other side pull. The other side pulls, they also would want to push. And so in this tug of war, all of us, journalists, curious electorates, we will just be watching as they try to knock themselves out. It will be a combination of wit, tactics, strategy, money, and
money.
Who really, and this is one election that is going to put the Nigerian citizen or the Nigerian electorate to task as to whether democracy actually belongs to the people or for whoever is able to pull the tricks out of the bag, like candy and money. Of course, you know how election has become a matter of what's it called? Bazaar in Nigeria. You have your money on the block, you ask for the vote, somebody is willing to sell. So, would Nigerians be able to take back their democracy, or is going to be at the mercy of their money bags? Meanwhile, because of hunger situation, because of poverty situation that is so grinding in Nigeria, scores of people, if not millions, are really agonizing to early grave in Nigeria. So would there be enough citizens alive when 2027 comes to be part of this electoral process? We wait until then. Everybody is expecting there should also be some mechanism for electoral reforms. We are not seeing much of that. You won't see on the blog too, some people pushing the proposal that a new 40 states should be created. How do they sustain this so-called...
Did you say new 40 states?
New 40 states being proposed by certain elements in the National Assembly.
It sounds like they're jobless.
It sounds like people don't even know what the size of the state ought to be. Nigeria on a good day as a whole should not be more than a state.
3
but
states
now,
at most.
It should not be more than a state. Nigeria itself. What I mean, compare between the size of state of Texas here, California there.
It's pretty much the same size. Maybe 2/3. Nigeria is 2/3 of California.
Nigeria is like 2.5 or 2.5 times the size of California.
2/3 of California.
What is the entire Nigeria? In the state of Kansas where I live, although seen as an average state, you are traveling 8 hours. You are not even yet out of the state. State of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, states are big. Yeah. So instead of maybe embracing the vision of a more vibrant local government, city states, or getting communities, villages, towns, cities chartered, so that they can. I mean, every time they say, "Oh, there is KBC of this place, the emir of that place, the Obong or the Obi of that community," they don't really have any power. If you really want to make them relevant, let them run their own communities with what's it called? Certain degree of financial autonomy and political what's it called? Political independence as well. Then we will know that all these structures are relevant. But as it is now, they're asking for more states. I said, how are they going to sustain that? Where is the production base to make it? I mean, what would they be doing to get? So they want to just balkanize the system further, make sure that the unending shame of monthly allocation continues unchallenged. That is not how to grow a modern economy. That is not, this certainly does not recommend itself as a way of growing a modern polity. Yeah. So we started from Kenneth Okonkwo and former governor SULE Lamido. Now, the SULE Lamido leg of your question. SULE Lamido has said so many things this past week that makes all of us to want to shudder. Honestly, yes, he has the right to select.
We're going to get to SULE Lamido in a second. Real quick, sir. Live with Natu is in the chat. She said El Rufai is a vicious person. Is one of the reasons why we're in this insecurity mess. He's supposed to apologize for shoving Tinubu through Nigerians' throats. How are we sure he's not bringing another Tinubu?
I agree completely with Natu. And in addition, Natu, let me tell you that whatever the day is going to bring, or how the evening of a day would go. You always know from the dawn, from the morning. This is El-Rufai that went everywhere, giving his greatest benefactor, the man that brought him to the limelight, Abubakar Atiku. Abubakar Atiku was the man that discovered him. Majority of those people who operated in the Obasanjo administration came from PDM.
I have a special question though, with respect
but let me land this thought, please.
Okay.
The majority of those people that Atiku Abubakar brought in with the support of people like Mrs. Titi Ajenaku, people like the late Sunday Afolabi, SM Afolabi, and co. You see, they came from the late Shehu Yar'Adua's political movement known as PDM, which later dissolved with PSP into the defunct what's it called, SDP in those days, during the moribund Third Republic of Ibrahim Babangida. So Atiku was the operative, was the man that was really fixing people up under Obasanjo before they started having their own political tension. Don't forget, Obasanjo as a person can be very good, would play with you, would play Ayu, the traditional Ayu game with you. But he is a different person when you are talking of Obasanjo in government. His personal friends actually said this to his face, right in my presence. So, all these people now that at some point Abubakar Atiku propped up for Obasanjo, chiefly amongst them is Nasir El-Rufai. Look at the way he drew that knife, whether long or short, and backknifed everybody that has been his mentor. This is the same person who is in this coalition. So this coalition itself, let me describe with this oxymoronic phrase, is a marriage of strange political bedfellows. They are all strange political bedfellows.
We have to move on. We spent too much time on it.
So Natu, I believe you. El-Rufai in the house is going to tear the coalition apart at some point. Just it's a matter of time.
I was going to ask you this question, but please note it so you can answer during this Lamido situation. This is the question. If El-Rufai does not bring you your next president, who do you want to bring you your next president? Please answer on the next one. But let's move on right now. Let's move on to. I'm pushing against you and Natu. Hold on.
Allah is not a long one. Nigerians should search and discover who their next president should be. They shouldn't wait on El-Rufai.
I have to protect my time. Thank you. All
Let's move.
Thank you. All right. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications, follow. Don't worry. We'll get to the rest of the conversation. We'll be right back.
U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Obliterated. Jesus Christ.
Obliterated, yes.
All right. So, according to Washington Post, has put out a special report on this. This was actually updated just about 16 minutes ago. It says Iran attacks U.S. military base in Qatar in retaliation for strikes on nuclear facilities. Iran launched a missile attack on a U.S. military base in Qatar on Monday in retaliation for U.S. strikes on key Iranian nuclear sites. Qatar condemned the attack, which it said its air defenses intercepted. Explosions were reported in the sky over the Qatari capital Doha, which is about 20 miles northeast of Al Udeid Air Base. The forward headquarters for U.S. Central Command and home to about 10,000 troops. The Pentagon is not aware of any U.S. injuries or deaths resulting from Iran's attack. U.S. defense officials said, acknowledging that the strike involved short-range, medium-range ballistic missiles. I have a very simple question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is the United States at war?
Well, technically, no. Like you have just quoted from which media organization now?
This is Washington Post.
Okay, and it's what has been trending in most international news outlets. Throughout the day, and what we know is that today, Iran was able to fire 10 missiles at that Qatari base, a military base, where 10,000 U.S. troops are. 9 of those 10 were actually intercepted. One landed, but it was maybe some third, not impacting anything. That said, we also find out that some American assets in places like Bahrain and these other place was actually targeted. We're actually targeted. But the good thing is that America is well positioned to protect itself. Now, this is one military action that it's been called that really showed the other side of President Donald Trump. Is somebody I've always loved to suffer with so much joy and gladness, thinking that is not able to reason beyond certain level, maybe that of an elementary pupil. But this man that we often underrate has shown to all of us that people who appear simple, who appear jittery, who appear unstable, may really be people you do not underestimate. Look at the planning of the whole thing, in its execution, the decoy, the distraction. When he was saying, "Oh, maybe within 2 weeks I may and I may not," nobody knew that something was already in the works. And by 6:40 something p.m. local time on Saturday, action was on. Do not forget that everybody was thinking that, okay, he was brokering. He was calling Iran for some mediatory talks.
For negotiations.
But nobody actually knew that the whole world, or let me say America, felt that Iran's cup was full and had begun to run over concerning the desire and the ambition to have enriched uranium and nuclear capability. And they felt, with the way Iran had been going, that to leave them to continue to be the, what's it called, sustained torment on everybody in the Middle East would not be proper. So while Israel and Iran were having their face-off, I think America's calculation, they haven't said this, but also you can make this deduction from what we know, that, from what had been said so far, was that to leave Iran to run amok with its nuclear capabilities. That's why you find those B-50, what's it called? B-20 aircrafts from nearby Missouri here, taking off, first flying elsewhere as a decoy, as a distraction, and then quietly, you know, the way they move, the stealth bombers, the way they move with supersonic and suppressed noise, went for what they had to do. Some reports were saying 12 of such stealth bombers were deployed, but at the end of the day, at least we can say maybe 7 did the job, and they went for, they went with their 30,000 pound, more than 30,000 pound bunker busting bombs, which they unloaded on those facilities that had been developed right in the belly of the of certain rocks and heads right there. So the issue is, why did America really make sure that this was done after the stock markets had closed that day? For the weekend, and before the start of stock market the following morning. Is because they needed to send the right signal to the entire world. Absolutely. That we are not at war. America is not at war. And number two, that this is okay. It's just to make sure that somebody has, or a country has, or the theocrats known as the mullahs, the Ayatollah running. Ayatollah Khamenei running that Islamic Republic has some brain reset, and that's why they did so, because the action took place right after stock market had closed, right before some stock markets opened the following day. You find relative stability in the stocks all over the world. That is one major calculation right there.
Absolutely.
The other one, everybody has been asking the question. Instead of oil prices stumbling all over the world because of the strategic attacks on oil fields and capabilities of Iran, and then the Russian-Ukrainian conflict too going on, and Russia being a major oil-producing country, that by now oil price should have spiked from $75 at some point last week, while those toxic rhetorics were on. Instead, today, it has plummeted to about $67. Why that? It is because some countries that had placed order, they are beginning to shed the load of their purchases. So a kind of glut in that system. Instead of stocking supply that would outpace demand, here now, demand is far short of supply. So the prices are stumbling. It therefore means that beyond the way we have always underrated Donald Trump as somebody who reasons like a kindergartner, the guy's really got something hidden somewhere. And
well, could it be because the executive office is bigger than any one person? He has obviously advisors all over around him.
Well, even in this case,
not to belittle him, but I'm just saying, could that also be part of it?
No, you don't even find real technocrats around him other than his political acolytes and what's it called? Apologists. For example, his MAGA chieftain, Steve Bannon. It's not for this action. You know, he doesn't support this action at all. And they have always felt that Donald Trump, who said he will not go to war, will keep things small. All of a sudden, it's now the person that is clapping about containing or taking an action, which which none of his predecessors have been able to really initiate. We
also
since 1978-79.
We also know that Donald Trump likes to gloat about his power. Even if you look at the way he made that statement after the attack, you know he really enjoyed that. And just as of
don't forget that this guy is a TV showman. He's about the showmanship. To him, it's almost like
If it's
I'm
going to
telling
be
on
about his
NBC,
showmanship, you'll be for it.
it's almost like appearing on NBC's apprenticeship that made him so famous. So everything is TV up.
Yep,
It's TV opportunity for him. So
exactly.
yes, I mean, I quite agree with you. I quite agree with you the way he came on the silver screen and describing what had just taken place. The operation, is it Midnight Hammer, something like that. So
Yeah.
he described it as something like never before, a spectacular military accomplishment or operation. That is Donald Trump for you.
Let me read
That
this
is
for
Donald
you.
Trump for you.
Let me read this for you.
Right.
About 1 hour ago, as an update to that Washington Post article, Joshua Yang said President Donald Trump described Iran's missile attack on U.S. airbase in Qatar as and I quote, very weak response, a retaliation for U.S. strikes on key Iranian nuclear sites. Trump said on Truth Social Monday that Iran gave the U.S. early warning, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. And then another guy, Adam Taylor, says in a string of social media posts on Monday, President Donald Trump appeared to signal a de-escalation of tensions with Iran, writing that Tehran seems to have gotten it all out of their system with its telegraphed and limited attack on U.S. forces in Qatar, and encouraging Iran and Israel to seek peace and harmony in the region. Congratulations, world, it's time for peace, he wrote on one Truth Social.
Yeah, that is almost in line with what we said. You saw, I mean, the way he really played it down, the weak retaliatory,
weak response.
I said the thing landed with a third. With a thought. I mean, such insignificant sand and impact there. But beyond that, the Ayatollah Khamenei in Tehran should now begin to, because so much lies have been told about that country. You're talking of a country with Persian civilization of more than 3,000 years, unbroken history. That is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. It's almost like the history of Yoruba race, where you and I originally belonged in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, before the Olamurudu that is known as Nimrod, and what other name in Nimrod in Genesis chapter 10, the father of Oduduwa. More than 10,000 years, people who will calculate. So you're talking of the civilization of Persia. I have friends from Iran all over America. They tell me, "Oh, I'm a Christian from Iran." Somebody says, "Oh, I'm Persia." All these civilizations constituting about 20% of the population of that country, they are suppressed. Every day you hear of Islamic Republic of Iran. Nonsense. He needs to unify his country. This will rally the early Christian church that is still surviving today in Iran to also, say that they are relevant. This is what Iran must do. Pursuing some hegemonic superiority in the Middle East does not help the cause of the people of that country. And thank God, we find out very quickly that Donald Trump is not aiming at regime change. But if the tension is becoming so unbearable internally, the people, because it will be a violation of international laws and norms for America or Israel to want to kill the president or the leader of that country, the supreme leader of that country. But if the people, through insurrection internally, decide to do that, it will be a sad day. Already, that region of the world has witnessed so much cataclysm and tension over the years. Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, and so on and so forth. The Egyptian riots and revolution. So at this point, everybody should shoot the sword, look inwards instead of pursuing some expansionist agenda and trying to sponsor terrorists all over the place. The impact of which we also feel in faraway places like Nigeria and the Sahel. Iran should be inward looking. And some of our public commentators in Africa ought to tone down their rhetoric.
I've been seeing some stuff.
Yes, they ought to tone down their rhetoric. I mean, you cannot hide under your roof and then break a neck. But when a push comes to shove, issues often come to the man who says, "Oh, I'm just staying under my roof, JJ." The rhetorics on the part of our people are becoming too toxic, no matter how you look at it.
Sorry, what's the main crux of what they've been saying?
What they've been saying is to see America as the imperial policeman of the world. What they have been saying is to see Israel as the aggressor in this matter, and what they have been saying is never to see Iran's culpability in sponsoring all kinds of terrorist cells all over. For example, as America landed its bunker busters on those strategic nuclear facilities in Iran, you notice what the Tehran leadership said. They said they will activate their sleepy cells of terrorists in the United States and all over the place. Who talks like that? They are cutting your finger, you are still saying you have to put in a ring. That is being utterly recalcitrant. You know, it's like you are beating hollow, and yet you are saying, "Oh, you fight better when your back is on the ground." The truth of the matter is that America has got this awesome might, but what we always discuss between us as Americans, because when things like this happen, we are all united behind the Spangled Banner, behind our flag. Yes, we may disagree in our politics, but when it comes to retarding enemies, foreign and homegrown, we are united as a country. So this is why I'm saying our public commentators, journalists, opinion is free, but do not manufacture facts. Let's
round this on.
Yeah.
Let's round it up, sir.
So this is all I can say about the situation. But I know Donald Trump has impacted the situation by now. I think.
So, in your opinion, he delivered on this one. He delivered on this one.
Oh, straight.
Okay.
Straight. Yeah.
All right.
So what I expect is that Iran should now begin to crave some negotiations and deal that would put a definitive stop to this shenanigan.
All right, let us know. Join the conversations. We run completely out of time, so I don't know what we're gonna do with our third story here, but let's just hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications, and we will think about coming right back. No, of course, I was just kidding. We're back. Let's listen to this video.
All right.
I open my eyes wide open. What I'm saying that today in Nigeria, we've got a government which is dividing Nigerians along north and south, dividing Nigerians along ethnicity line, and also using institutions of the state in manipulating and controlling and coercing, the opposition. For instance, I just saw a program now of the governor of Akwa Ibom, and when I saw him speak, I just pitied him because he's somebody who 2 years ago was unknown in Nigeria, unknown by anybody, who was then honored and dignified by PDP and made a governor. See him talking now, I mean, renouncing his own history, his own tradition, his own legacy. It's just a pity. So to me, coming from the old generation, I'm not really frightened by the way the current generation is moving around. So to me, any arrangement, I'll be part of any arrangement of any chemistry, any configuration, whatever you may call it, if it is going to move this government out of power, because...
Okay, you heard it. He's saying it's going to be any... I tried to listen. I heard it. I'm a Nigerian man, so I heard what he said. He says, I'm ready to join any coalition to unseat Tinubu is what they turned the headline to, but you get the gist, right? He said a former governor of
Well,
Jigawa State.
on a funny note, Ola, does former governor SULE LAMIDO, does it still look? These a facial look that made him to resemble this Yoruba movie character Otolo? Does it still look like that?
I don't. Funny enough, I don't even feel like I remember Otolo this much. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Okay, you don't remember Otolo Adojoge. Anyway,
I know Joge Otolo.
He used to have that look. Yes. He used to have
I think it looks like a funny character from a Yoruba movie, if that's what you're saying.
Yes, like that's Otolo. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But let's continue.
Yeah. Nice one, sir. But let me just read this to you, and then maybe you can bring me up to speed, because I'm even struggling to remember his actual character, Mr. Lamido, right? But they're saying he's a former governor of Jigawa State.
He was also Nigeria's foreign affairs minister.
Oh, okay. So he said he has expressed his willingness to join any arrangement to unseat President Bola Tinubu from office in 2027. Mr. Lamido disclosed this during an interview on Arise TV over the weekend with the short one we just watched within the fair use guidelines. While accusing the Tinubu administration of monumental failure and incompetency, Mr. Lamido stressed the need to vote out the ruling All Progressives Congress. The chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, said he is open to joining any entity, any configuration, no matter its nomenclature. I am part of any arrangement, no matter its nomenclature, to remove this government of incompetence, insecurity that is dividing Nigerian family between North and South out of power. I will go into any... Personally, I'm going to say this personally before I give it to you, sir. Okay? I don't believe any of this, guys. I'm going to repeat my question to you and Natu. If it is not El Rufai that will choose our next president, who do you want to choose our next president? Do you have another choice that's better than El Rufai?
The choice I have is for the people, is that Nigerian people must choose their own president, not crisis merchants and people who would trade off even their own birthright for anything that we know as politicians to broker any deal on behalf of the more than 200 million Nigerian people. That said, who is SULE LAMIDO, and what other things did he say in that interview? You saw the way he took Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the cleaners as being...
He threw him under the bus. He said he was supporting IBB.
Yes, not just under the bus. He took him to the cleaners, saying he was... what's it called? That he was a pretender to pro-democracy.
To MKO, activism. June 12th.
Pro-democracy activism. But do not forget that this SULE LAMIDO himself was the secretary of the then Social Democratic Party. He was one of those people who really actually sold out on the June 12th mandate. So everybody comes around to talk of this is what they did during the the Ogun Adubi, like it's often said in Yoruba folk song and folk history. That,
wait, sir, are you saying it's a snake?
Not just a snake. It is a serpentine. It's a sly. Not just him, majority of them. For example, yes, Bola Tinubu did his best as a pro-democracy activist. I'm aware of the antecedents of people like Femi Falana. He's a colleague in Michigan then, who later came to Nigeria and became member of the House of Representatives. Kayode Oladele, that used to be the man that was running the foreign arm of Femi Falana's law operations. These people, they were so dogged and committed. My good big brother of blessed memory now, remember Bamidele Francis Aturu, they were in that vanguard. But what I'm saying is that, how about the common folks, like the guy, Olorunda, who was an Ayede Ogbese person that was cut down, whose life was cut down before his time by the bullets of Sani Abacha. This guy did not aspire to become Nigerian president. He was minding his own thing, and he was sacrificed. His life was sacrificed for Nigeria's democracy. Nobody remembers folks like that anymore. You know, people like SULE LAMIDO never confronted the military the way some of us did. While Chief Kayode, Blessing Kayode was packing his files to leave the secretariat of SDP in Akure, I walked up to him, sir. So is this you people cannot even give a fight? They said you should unpack and go. And you want to go? He said, so what do? We don't even have guns. We don't have anything. I mean, speaking up at that moment, does anybody remember people like us anymore? Nobody does. And it's become the elites in Nigeria awarding themselves laurels and all the glory about what transpired. And where Nigeria stands today, these people, remember, SULE LAMIDO did not only betray Nigerian voters upon June 12. Even the running mate of MK Abiola, Babagana Kingibe, was one of the first people who played that Simon Peters card against Abiola. He accepted to serve in the interim administration of Shonekon, Ernest Shonekon, and later Abacha. So many people. The Ebenezer Babatokpes who were so loud in opposing the annulment. The moment, and the late Baba Jakonde, my icon, not in politics, but as a journalist, you know. I mean, all these people, they capitulated when the real test of, that real test was run on them to know whether they were real men. So many people chickened out. But you want to begin to share blames, it will go around so many places. For example, even if Bola Ahmed Tinubu stood with heroic resolve in actualizing the June 12 struggle, what has he done since he became president? All those things they were mouthing then, all those things song of restructuring and making sure what? Even look at the little things that people like Mimiko did when they were governor, bringing free education, safe motherhood, thing. When APC got there, they erased all those things. The mega schools, they destroyed everything instead of consolidating them. And they continue to describe themselves as progressives, but they're taking us backwards. So I won't say too much. I think SULE LAMIDO should not see himself as the Messiah. I mean, it's even dangerous to have this messianic complex. SULE LAMIDO, Rufai, all of them, they need to just play the card of bystanders for a while. Let new kids come on the block. I want to see people like Shewere, people like Peter, what's his name? Peter Obi. I want to see new generation of Nigerians. Just that the only thing is that Peter Obi can be too soft at times. He's always talking like a softie. He needs to man up and confront some of these people at times. But who knows? There is still another 2 years left for Bola Tinubu to do wonders. Who knows what he can do? You never write any man off until they breathe their last. So Tinubu can still also give some hope to those who believe in the hope that he wants to renew. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that one, sir. That's a very nice, concise one. We're about 9 minutes over, but it's okay. It's all right. We have delivered today. Do me a favor. Hit like, share, subscribe, and follow. Turn up your notifications so you're notified when we do go live. Also, the best way, some of you have been watching and not subscribing. Okay, especially particularly on YouTube. Okay. It will be the best way to encourage us is to subscribe. Okay, I'll tell you, for example, in this last week alone, I'll tell you the numbers just so you know what's going on. About 3,900 views. People, that's all kind of different people that came by. We have about 1,200 people came by. And we're dealing with only 346 subscribers. So we know that we are reaching. Okay, but it will be highly encouraging. We can see the numbers a lot more clearly if you just simply hit the subscribe button. Also make sure you turn on your notifications so you are engaged, so you can see it when we go live. But we appreciate you for being here nonetheless. Want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. It's very simple. It's free too. Just hit subscribe. Just tap subscribe and make sure you're always liking the shows whenever you come by. All right. So want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. You might have maybe one last word for them before we leave, sir.
Well, like you have said, we must all accept the fact that this is a community. We say it like no other person, and we do our research. We have our facts. You see that we do not take sides. We are not saying anybody should fall. We are not saying that people who are, who have aspirations cannot come up and play their part on the stage. When we all are involved, we make the world better. The world does not have anything for people who are just mere bystanders. So you can also be part of making that difference by being part of what we do here. It is a community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hopefully you've been enlightened, educated. We'll see you on the next one. Take care and God bless.